Have you ever wanted to say something to God and you weren't sure you could handle it? David said it, and God called him a man after his own heart. Listen, once you've descended and you've named where you're at and you stop pretending and stop trying to escape, there's only one thing left for you to do, and it's say what's actually true. Territory 2 is not a step up from territory 1. It's when you choose to get out of the victim chair and move into action. It's when you choose to stop being silent inside it. David, he was a shepherd boy who became a king. He was a warrior. He was a poet. He's a murderer. He's an adulterer. A man who danced before the Lord with abandon and wept with complete abandon. He's probably one of the most emotionally honest people in all of Scripture. Have you seen the Psalms? They're not just devotional poetry that's written in quiet moments of reflection. They're raw transcripts of a man telling God what was true, including the parts he wasn't proud of. Of the 150 Psalms, I believe David wrote 73, wrote almost half of them, and they go from praise to accusation, and God preserved all of them for us. There's some real beauty in that, in his expression, and it's still being there in the scripture. You know, saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's quite profound. It's the opening line of Psalm 22, written by David, quoted by Jesus on the cross. The Son of God takes those same words and uses those. That means this prayer, like there's a beauty in that prayer. And if it was warranted enough for Jesus to use it in this moment, it is also appropriate for whatever suffering that we may be going through. It's interesting. The Psalms of Lament follow a very simple structure. First part is the cry. It's literally naming the pain directly to God. The second is the complaint. And that's telling him what feels wrong or absent from our lives. The third is the confession of trust. Not because you feel it, but because you choose it. And the last one is praise, often before there's any change, because it's due regardless. Do you notice what's missing from this? An explanation of the suffering or an apology for feeling it. It's not there. It literally is the act of crying out is the movement. That is the move. Okay, so let's walk this out. I wanna read it to you so I don't mess it up. So Psalm 22, verse 1 and 2. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from my cries of anguish. I cry out by day, but you do not answer. By night, I find no rest. He's literally just reporting what's going on. It's it's like a download from someone who's been there. And we know he's been there because he's just reporting about it. And then in verse 6, I am a worm and not a man, scorned by everyone, despised by people. I mean, he calls himself a worm. That is not some exaggeration. He's feels very, very poorly about himself in this moment. This is what the descent does to us. It is hard to separate the two. It's that thing of you are not your circumstance, but sometimes it really feels like you are. And if it's something that David struggled with, it's okay that we struggle with it too, but you very much are not your circumstance. We are in good company. Okay, and then verse 9 and 10. But then, yet you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you even at my mother's breast. He's looking for evidence, like trying to figure this thing out. And then in verse 24, for he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has not hidden his face from him, but he has listened to his cry for help. It's like we talked about earlier in the last video. There's been nothing that's changed externally. Everything looks the same. But there's an internal change. Something has shifted inside. And that's the big difference in this territory. Something is happening internally. And in Psalm 130, David says, out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. And this is interesting. The word he uses is, if I can pronounce this right, mamakim, which means the ocean floor, which is the deepest place possible, which to us means there's no place that's too deep for God to be with you. It doesn't matter that you feel like you're at the bottom. God is there with you. And that is really a beautiful thing. Our job is to call out. That is what we should do. And if you feel like you're in the depths right now, that's exactly where God meets people. In the horizontal domain, there's silence, there's um, producing an edited version of our experience to God or to other people, or what's acceptable of your suffering. But in the vertical domain, there's simply just not performance, there's just honesty. David gave God the worm version, the forsaken version. It's not polished. It doesn't look good, but that's not what it's about. It's not what it's about at all. It's that the night with no answer, just waiting. And God called David his closest friend. It's interesting. There's three things that I feel like people leave out when they talk to God. There's anger, like saying, I'm angry with you. I'm angry with this. I'm angry about this. As if God can't handle us telling him we're angry. And there's doubt, that we doubt ourselves, or we doubt our abilities, or are you listening, or that we're struggling, we're afraid. And then our demands. I need something. I need something. I'm losing it. I don't know if this means anything. I'm asking you for something. I'm asking you to act. These are things that people avoid. And these are exactly the things that David was doing. Like wrestling with God is encouraged. God isn't afraid of us communing with him and talking to him and expressing ourselves to him. It's when we don't. It's when we try to do it on our own. It's when we grit our teeth and just keep going through the storm and just think we can do it without him. The things that we edit out of our prayers, out of our expressions, those are the things that territory 2, calling out to God, is asking you to bring forward. This okayness that we perform, to God, and it there's a cost, and the cost is the distance in the only relationship that can hold the load that you're carrying, that just ends up breaking you if you don't look to God, because we can't carry it. We don't need to. That's been taken care of already. Being fully known and fully edited, they can't coexist. It's like two ladders that go apart like this. You start climbing up, and for a little while it works. But then eventually you get to a point where your legs are so far apart on each ladder, you've got to choose. You're either going to be edited or you're going to be fully known. And God's asking you to be fully known. When we'd pray, and when Raph would pray during this season, is raw. Our whole life was raw. There's nothing to hide. Our world was such a storm. And it's so crazy to say, it was so painful in so many ways. And I wasn't the one in physical pain. But we've never felt closer to God. That thing about the depths where God meets you is so true. It is so true. And what we found in those moments of just despair was something you cannot manufacture. The story that came out of this season of our lives is something you cannot manufacture. I wrote it down and wrote a book about it because it's almost unbelievable, even though I was there. It feels like a movie still. God meets you there. Okay, so here we go. I want you to do one thing this week. It's simple, it's actionable, it's specific. I want you to write one lament, and I want you to follow David's structure. First, name the pain directly to God, one sentence. Second, tell him what feels absent or wrong. Be specific. Find one thing, ancient or small, that you still trust. Write it down, even if you don't feel like it, and end with one line of praise. Even if you don't fully feel it yet, write that down as well. It's not a formula. It's a structure that holds honest suffering. Listen, David used it, you can use it. It does it justice, it gives it time, and it puts it down. Listen, it doesn't need to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a picture. Just make it true. Listen, Jesus quoted Psalm 22 from the cross. This is not triumph in his worst moment. This is an utterance of abandonment. God knows what dissent feels like from the inside. Territory 2 is not asking you to feel better. It's asking you not to remain silent. Say the honest thing. If it comes out as anger, fantastic. If it comes out as a question, fantastic. The important part is that you say it. I mean, think about this. David said it thousands of years ago. It's been in scripture for thousands of years. It's okay for you to say it too. Next week is territory 3, and that is the hardest crossing of all, forgiveness. Not because the thing that hurt you didn't deserve it, but because you've been allowing it to live rent free inside of you, right beside all that you love. Listen, guys, if these videos hit home for you, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't taken the quiz, the significant score quiz, go to thesignificantscore.com, take the quiz. It is a compass you can take with you to find out where you are and move directionally in a vertical direction very quickly. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure sharing with you, and I look forward to next time.